try to do my best.
So we are YouTubing live, and now we are recording. Wonderful. So here we are. Welcome everybody to the second global online event by Legal Creative. My name is Tessa Manuelo, and I will be your host for this event. I am right now with Federico Ast, who will be our first speaker, which I will introduce in just a second. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that this is all live streaming on YouTube, so you can interact live with the speakers by adding some notes and comments, questions inside the little chat box right under the video. So feel free to do so if you have questions or comments, and our speakers will be happy to answer any of your questions. And also, we are extremely happy to say that we have more than 50 participants for this live today, coming from different jurisdictions in the United States, in Canada, but also in South America, in Chile, in Peru, Argentina, and also some folks from Paris, France. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our first speaker, Federico Ast. Hello, Federico, and welcome to this live event.
Hi, Tessa. Thank you very much for having me here.
So Federico, he is a PhD, recently completed his PhD research at Buenos Aires, and he is the founder and CEO of Kleros. Kleros is building the new justice protocol using blockchain and crowdsourcing. And today he will be presenting to you live his project, his startup, and showing the potential of blockchain in order to create a new justice for the new economy. So without further ado, Federico, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Let me start by telling you a bit about how justice systems work in the ancient Greece. So the Athenians, they didn't have lawyers or judges as we have today, but they had this very interesting concept that every citizen of the allowed to be a judge in juries, in trials. So the day of the trial, they went all to court, and they had this a kind of document of ID that, and it was made of bronze. It was a bronze plate, and so each one of them had this this ID with their name. So they went to court and they put this ID into a big stone block, and it was full of slots. So they put the ID in one of these slots, and then came a justice official, and he threw some black and white dice on a side of this Kleroterion machine. That the big rock was called Kleroterion. And so if you had on your row a white dice, then you went to be a jury. If you had the black one, so you went home. So what was this? Basically a machine that made sure that all the juries were selected in a fair way and in a transparent way. So nobody could tamper with the procedure of selection, and so the trials would be fair. So all this idea of having lawyers and specialists and judges for the justice systems is like an invention of the nation-state era, right? 18th century, and so this is when lawyers start to appear massively. So that system worked for like 200 years, and it was very good for the time it lasted, because it provided the rule of law and justice system for the growth of the economy in the 19th century, 20th century. But then, as you know, technology can change, and then we had the internet. And the type of disputes that are becoming more common are very different from the ones that the guys of the 18th century, like, they wanted to solve with technology that they had in that time. So imagine now you have like this guy who is in Argentina, and he hires a web developer from Guatemala, and so they do an agreement. So the guy from Guatemala does the product, and the guy in Argentina is not happy with that because he was expecting something better. So, but the guy in Guatemala says, "Hey man, I just did my job. I'm not going to do anything else because those were the specifications. And so, if you want me to do some more changes, you have to pay me." So this guy in Argentina is not going to go to a lawyer in Guatemala for suing this guy for like a $1,000 website. So these kind of disputes are becoming more and more common in the online virtual world, and we don't have really a way to solve it. So imagine if the guy in Argentina, instead of paying the guy from Guatemala directly, he just put the money into a smart contract. So if everything goes right, the smart contract transfers the money to the contractor and everybody's happy. But if there is a dispute, the money is going to be locked into the smart contract, and this is going to go to a jury of experts in websites who are going to analyze the evidence, and they're going to vote who is right. Later, if you want, we can talk about how juries are selected, but the point is that, so this jury is made of experts, people who can analyze the evidence, and they understand what is going on, so they can vote. And so depending on their vote, so the money can be paid to the contractor or can be reimbursed to the customer. So this provides a solution of dispute resolution which is fast, affordable, and transparent for lots and lots of disputes of the networked economy. So now this is a very simple example, but this could be used in tons and tons of different applications, in copyright, lots of different disputes in e-commerce, insurance, and so it will provide a solution where there is no solution now at a global scale. So this is a bit of the pitch of the project. I'm happy to answer, I guess, many questions you may have.
Thank you, Federico, for this very insightful presentation of the origins of the project. So the origins quite old, right? We are going back more than centuries ago. And do you want to explain now this project? How does this work? Who can use this solution? How this solution works? And how is it different from the solutions that we have today for this type of issues of the new economy?
Sure. So today, the solution for this kind of disputes is basically customer service of the, I guess, eBay or Alibaba. So they have their own system for dispute resolution between users. That's not really justice system. It's more like customer support thing, because it's not neutral. It's like it's the company solving disputes in the way that the company will see not fair, but better suited to the business goals of the company. So Kleros is completely neutral in this way. So it's an objective third party that is going to analyze the evidence and decide who is right, just as like justice systems were thought in the 18th century and also in the Greek. So how can we make sure that this is going to work correctly, right? That the system is going to produce fair decisions. So this is, imagine I am like website expert who lives in, I don't know, in Kenya, in Africa, and I have my job, my day job, and I do website design, and then I want to make some extra money, maybe by solving disputes in Kleros, right? So why would I do this? Because I have every juror that's going to participate is going to be paid an arbitration fee that is going to come from the money that is at stake in the dispute between the parties. So I go and I have to buy a token. Remember that the Greek had this token called pinakyon that they put into this rock called Kleroterion. So this is going to work a bit like that. So I have to buy this token, and if I want to be a juror in a website dispute, I have to activate this token into a website court, right? It's a court where all different disputes about websites are going to go. So after I activate my my token there. So there is going to be a random selection process among all the jurors, but all the potential jurors that self-selected to become jurors in disputes of websites, right? So imagine like we have, I don't know, 1,000 people who are going to propose to be jurors, and this random selection mechanism is going to pick, let's say, 11 of them. So these guys are going to vote to receive the evidence and vote who is right in the dispute. So how do we make sure that these guys are going to do a good job, right? How do we make sure that they're going to take the time to analyze the evidence and to vote what is correct, right? So this is the clever part of the system. There is this principle from game theory that is called the Schelling point principle, that it says that some people under some situations of communication and decision making, they should make a similar decision, having similar access to evidence and similar expertise, right? Imagine I vote in this dispute, and I vote that the guy from Guatemala is right and the guy from Argentina is wrong. And the other 10 jurors vote differently from me. So according to the Schelling point principle, this could be telling us that the juror did not take enough time to analyze the evidence, or that he did not have the right skills to do it. So he's going to lose the token, and this token is going to be distributed to the rest of the jurors who voted coherently. And so this is how the system aligns the economic incentive with the honesty of jurors, right? So if you are a juror who wants to game the system and you try to self-select and vote anything just to collect money, so over time you are going to lose money. And this is how we incentive the agents to do work that is honest and that is adequate to solve the disputes that we receive.
So Federico, is this the part of the project that is related to crowdsourcing? And I believe this is correct, right?
Yes, of course, because the Kleros is going to crowdsource the jurors to solve the dispute. So on the one side, we have disputes that need a solution, right? So that's the demand side. So how are we going to solve this? Well, we need to find people who can supply arbitration services, so experts who can solve the disputes that come from the demand side. So imagine Wikipedia, they crowdsource expert opinions on different topics. So, and this makes it much faster and much like wider and much more, I would say, yeah, bigger than the Britannica Encyclopedia. So in a similar way, Kleros, by using this crowdsourcing of jurors, has the potential of being much faster, much cheaper, and more transparent than existing dispute resolution methods, because the pool of jurors is much bigger.
Yes, Federico, and it relates to a question we have from a live participant who says he's from Paris, his name is Gibran, and he's asking, how would you ensure proof integrity? I believe this is related to what you're saying by proof integrity. So there might be two ways to answer. Maybe I understand how do you ensure juror makes good decisions, but maybe also that relates to the blockchain component of your project, which we haven't talked that much yet. So maybe you also want to expand on that for the benefit of our participants.
Sure. So the blockchain here, there are basically two goals to use it. First, it provides the proof of existence of the evidence that is going to be shown to the jurors. Have this dispute, so when the dispute starts, the evidence of the website gets like in the blockchain. So, and we get sure that this is going to go to the juror, and nobody could modify the evidence or whatever. Second, the blockchain, this works as an autonomous organization. And so all the jury selection process, what I explained about the tokens, is going to be fully automated. So even if I wanted to, tamper with the process, because I am being accused of something in Kleros. So I created this, but I can't really like change it. So this makes it totally transparent, and it makes it resistant to attacks. And the last motive, because why we need blockchain, is because this makes us sure that we can have enforcement of the decisions. Because remember that the party puts the money into a smart contract, and this smart contract is going to be triggered depending on what the jury decides. Okay, so those are the like three motives because blockchain makes a lot of sense to build Kleros. And about the question, so I guess it was related to how we make sure that the jurors really have the right skills to solve the dispute. So we get this question a lot, and the question is, the answer is like, imagine if it's because how the incentive scheme is done, like the Schelling point mechanism, makes sure that jurors that are not qualified to solve the dispute, where they self-select, are going to lose money, right? We're not going to ask for jurors, to jurors their reputation or their identity. Jurors are going to be anonymous, but the way the system is structured makes it that if you want to game the system by just self-selecting into courts where you don't have expertise to make money, over time, you are going to lose money. So you may be lucky like once or twice at the beginning because your vote happens to be coherent with the rest of the jurors because you were lucky. You can also be lucky if you go to the casino twice and then, yeah, you can win. But if you keep playing this game once and again, since you are going to vote differently from the other jurors who are experts in the matter, so you're going to start losing your tokens, right? So it's not going to be economically reasonable for you to keep playing this game where you are losing all the time. So that's the way in which the incentives work, and this is quite clever game theory. And also what we can do, because there are some like customers that want this, is like only pick jurors from a previously selected whitelist. I think it's not the best way to do it, but we understand that some people prefer having the vetted jurors for solving the disputes, and that's fine. But the problem is that those solutions could be a bit like more expensive and of course and less fast than the one that is open. Remember that it all depends on how many jurors can come from the supply side. More jurors on the supply side means faster resolution and lower cost.
So talking about faster resolution and lower cost, we have Sarah, who is live, who asked a question about this faster, cheaper, and more transparent justice protocol. And she's asking if there are any data that indicates that crowdsourcing will provide this outcome. So maybe have you run some tests already, or have you done some research? Do you have any data to support the hypothesis that this new justice protocol will be faster, cheaper, and more transparent?
So that's a very good question. The truth is that this has not ever been done before. Like, so crowdsourcing has this this aspect of always doing things faster and cheaper. You have like Wikipedia, Yelp, whatever system you want to pick from the digital age is done faster with crowdsourcing and cheaper, right? So right now we are starting to run pilots with different organizations that already have disputes to be solved. This is in insurance, in telecommunications, and also in freelancing, e-commerce. So, and the truth is that we are very confident that crowdsourcing is going to produce the result that we think, but we still have a lot of validation to do. Remember, this is very new. This has not been done before, and a lot of our project is about science research. So we have a mathematician who is a PhD expert in game theory, and he is doing research on how to produce the incentives for all this system to work transparently, fast, and affordable for the parties. But a lot of things we're going to learn along the way. I guess that if you made this question about to Satoshi Nakamoto about, do you think that this can work? Yeah, I think it can work, but we need to test it as he built it in the finance industry. So we think that this will work to bring justice to the unjustice.
And do you want to say a little bit about how you came up with this absolutely, I find personally, genius idea of using blockchain, crowdsourcing for the new justice protocol? Does it come from a personal experience, a personal story, or is it just that you got into all of those, into this PhD and you started to, I don't know, come up with some hypothesis of what to do with all of this research you must have been doing? Do you want to explain us a little bit more about how this idea originated in your mind and how you started implementing it or developing it?
Sure, you have like 2 hours to keep listening. So
no, let's do it in a few seconds.
So it's a bit of a long story that I guess covers different things I have done in my life, right? So I am an economist by training. So and then I studied philosophy. So I guess that took me to economics gave me the understanding of game theory, and then philosophy I understood about the Greek and also about thinking from the first principles, right? Because what you see is people trying to reform justice systems through technology, so judiciary reform initiatives, blah blah blah. But what it is important to build is like all what we know about justice is what people in the 18th century in their society thought that was the best way to solve disputes. So we live in a completely different time, and so with completely different technology. So the question I asked to myself is like, so if we had to build this from scratch with what we know today and for the type of disputes we have today, so how would we do it? So I had this training from the economic side and then from the philosophy side, and then I started to write about this. I didn't know how to solve this. And then I met Clément, who is Clément and Nico, who is they are from France, and they were working in something similar, right? But they had more mathematics and more like blockchain training than me. I know about blockchain because I was always interested in innovation, but I was more thinking about the application to real life problems. So Clément had all this training. Clément and Nico, they had all this training about the cryptographic things that we need Kleros to work. So, and why did I become interested in this? Because I come from Argentina, and you know this is a developing country which has had a lot of problems because of justice being too slow, corrupt. So I think that this governance problems we had in this country, so that's what made me think about the problem and how to solve it. So a bit about my background in academia, and a bit about like knowing Clément, who had the same idea, I guess from a different perspective, but he was the perfect complement for me to work on this, and a bit about my experience as an entrepreneur, because since I had companies before, so I knew how to build a project. So I guess different like things got aligned for this to happen. So if you want 3 hours later, I could explain a bit more, but that's a bit of the story. I'm still trying to make sense of it myself.
Thank you so much, Federico. Well, actually, we are happy to know that you would like to speak for 3 hours more, because actually we've got some viewers, and Sarah, who was the one who asked the question, who would be absolutely delighted if you would accept to come back later to Legal Creative in order to show the progress you are making, especially with the data collection and validation of the hypothesis. So that's what she's saying. Great to hear you are validating your theory. It would be good to get comparative data, as that will improve the chance that we can persuade people to change. And so she's wishing you good luck, and she'd love to hear how it progresses in future live stream. So, Federico, if you would like, I would be delighted to feature you again, let's say in 6 months from now or a year from now, if you would like to share more of the improvement as well, so we can also best support and celebrate your success.
I would love. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I hope that by that time I will be able to show like some real use cases and how Kleros starts to make real life people better by providing more access to fast, transparent, and affordable justice. So I'm very happy to do that.
Wonderful. And Marisa is saying, Federico, good luck and count on her to help. So I think you have some fans in the room, and you can count on our help to in whatever capacity we can. Thank you so much, Federico. And the replay will be live on the YouTube channel. So, and Federico is also available to chat with you, I'm sure, on social media. You can find him on Twitter, LinkedIn, Federico Ast, and also he has a community in Kleros. He's got a Slack group. So if you're interested, I will be able to share the link once this event is done. So all of the participants can join Kleros community if that would be of interest to you.
Yeah,
we
are like looking. Just one more thing, like looking for people who are interested in this. So we remember, so we are testing the system. So if you want to be a juror in the system and provide your expertise in different matters, so that's something we are very interested in. So come to the Slack and we can talk and we can collaborate in that way and help us build the future of justice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Federico. We'll have to move on because there is another speaker which is going to be starting in 3 minutes. So we have to close this conference room and open the new one with Brendan Gildea, a barrister from Dublin, Ireland. So if you're watching on YouTube, I am pretty confident you can just stay on the YouTube live. And if you're watching on iSun, the software we use for live streaming, you need to, well, you will be going out of this room and entering the new one. Hope this helped. Any question, you just send an email to hello@legalcreatives.com and we'll make sure to help you. Thank you so much, Federico, and we look forward to seeing the great success you're going to have in changing the justice to make it more fair and more transparent and cheaper for everyone. Thank you so much again, and congratulations.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.